Hey, what's up guys? Today the restoration process begins on this abandoned 1978 Ford Bronco that's been sitting out in the bush for the last 20 years.
Here's where it was sitting for the last 2 decades as it literally became one with its environment until a new owner came along and bought it to begin the lengthy restoration process. A few days later, and he brought it out to my studio where we quickly got it unstrapped from the trailer and rolled inside, though it did take a little extra help from my quad to get it positioned properly over the drain pit. Once inside, I chatted with him for a few minutes about the Bronco and about his plans for restoring it, which I'll share with you guys in a little bit, but shortly after, he was on his way and it was time for me to take a closer look at how bad this thing is. Now, I've seen a lot of disasters in my day, but this was a first. With the Bronco having sat in the bush underneath a bunch of trees for the last 20 years, it's got an enormous amount of what looks like moss and fungus growing all over the exterior, so much that it looks like it was supporting its own ecosystem here. It's covering the hood, is all over the windshield, and the roof, well, that's nothing compared to what I found inside. I opened the passenger door and discovered what looks to be dozens upon dozens of spider nests in the door jambs. There's also a mouse nest on the floor and a pile of moss growing in the back of the Bronco. If you'd have told me that this vehicle was submerged in water for years, I'd probably have believed it. This is going to be one of the most insane details I've ever taken on. But just before I get to work today, take a quick second and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss out on one of these epic transformations. Okay guys, well as I start work on the Bronco, I'm going ahead and spraying on some of my all-purpose cleaner diluted at 4:1, which is heavy strength, to soften and help make spraying off all this moss a little bit easier. But as I get started with the pressure washer, it's pretty clear it's very stuck on, and it's just going to be a matter of patience and attention to detail today to make sure that I get it all removed. Starting on the back, and one thing I thought was pretty cool is that the Bronco still has a parking sticker from 1988 from the University of Saskatchewan on the back window. But what's not cool is what happened to the owner right after he bought the Bronco and was loading it up onto his trailer. I guess his finger got caught under the winch cable somehow, and he actually lost the tip of it in the process, which is extremely unfortunate and is going to affect the timeline in which he can start on the restoration process. moving around the Bronco, and I have to say that at this point, things are going well, and I'm happy to see that the pressure washer is able to cut through everything that's bonded to the paint. But as you can see, there's a ton of rust on the body, which makes a lot of sense considering moss likes a moist environment, and where there's moisture, you'll find rust. Now with the hood being as bad as it is, I decided to go the aggressive route here and use degreaser on it instead. So I'll let that sit for a minute or two so it can really penetrate the moss and fungus, and we'll then get to work blasting it all off, which is insanely satisfying. Okay, moving up to the roof now, and again, I'm using degreaser here, but for those of you who are wondering why I didn't start up here, well, it's simply because I wanted to preserve the rest of the shots that you've already seen. But can we take a minute here to appreciate how incredibly crazy these colors are as the degreaser starts to do its job? That's truly gross, but at the same time is so satisfying getting to see it all get blasted off. So if you guys are enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button, as it really helps the channel out and lets me know that you guys are enjoying the videos. Now, of course, opportunities like this don't come along that often, so I had to have a little bit of fun today. But for the little bit of stuff you can see that the pressure washer didn't quite get removed, I'll plan to use the steamer on that a little bit later on to get it finished off. Time to tackle the door jambs now, where all the spider nests are, or at least what looked to be spider nests at first glance. Once I got them sprayed off, I thought they might actually have been moth cocoons instead, but I'm definitely no expert on this stuff, so it's either one or the other, but disgusting either way. So I'm very thankful that I can use the pressure washer to make quick work of it, and that I don't actually have to touch it. Okay guys, it's time to get this dirty old engine bay cleaned up a bit, but knowing the owner has plans for a full-on restore of every inch of the vehicle, I'm not going to go crazy in here, or anywhere on the vehicle for that matter, because everything is going to have to get ripped out anyways, and I'm sure a lot of things will simply be replaced. But I'll still spend a few minutes and at least clean up the mess with the usual process of degreaser, agitation, and a quick rinse, which I typically don't use the pressure washer for, but considering this engine hasn't run for 20 years, and likely won't be for a while longer yet, there's no risk of damaging anything more than what it already might be after sitting in a very wet environment for 20 years. Starting inside now, and before I can get the front seat removed, I need to quickly suck up this giant mouse nest with the shop vac so it doesn't end up all over my floor. Well, as you can imagine, with the front seat being one whole unit, it's quite a challenge to get it removed as it was very heavy, but once I've got it out, I can see that the vinyl floor in here is in terrible shape, as is the back seat, so I'll start with the vacuum and get all the mouse mess sucked up before removing the vinyl. Okay, well, given the shape of this vinyl, I'm simply just removing it, and I'm not going to be putting it back inside the Bronco today because replacement is really the only option here since it's been ripped to shreds over the years. But with it out, we can see that sitting in a wet environment in the bush for 2 decades has caused a lot of rust to eat away at the floorboards of the Bronco. So seeing this, and it's clear the owner has a massive job ahead of him if he wants to get this vehicle fully restored. Now at some point in the vehicle's history, someone put this seat cover on the front seat, but it's garbage at this point and needs to be removed so that I can clean the vinyl underneath. Okay, with the vacuuming done now, I'll get started on cleaning the interior with some of my all-purpose cleaner diluted 10:1 and the steamer, which you definitely have to be extremely careful with on older plastics as some of them don't like heat and can easily be damaged, so it's important to be very aware of that and work quickly. Now as I get started on these filthy seats, which I'm happy to say are going to clean up really well today, I wanted to share some more of the background I have on this Bronco. So like I mentioned earlier, the new owner just bought it a few days ago, and he actually bought it off of a co-worker who parked it back in the early 2000s. I guess at the time, him and his cousin were driving it one last time and went for a rip in his little dirt bike track, ended up losing control of the vehicle and drove it right through their grandma's greenhouse, which caused some damage to the front end on the passenger side. So it's definitely lived an eventful life, but the new owner is hoping to get it restored and back on the road, saying he'd like to get it finished off in a color that's a little bit more unique, like maybe a dark green or something along those lines. Getting these filthy sun visors clean now, and I was a little surprised to learn that Ford only sold just under 78,000 of the 1978 Bronco, but this second generation model did see quite a few changes from the previous version, as it got a whole foot longer, 4 inches taller, and over 1,000 pounds heavier. Either way though, if the owner gets this vehicle restored, it's going to be a pretty sweet ride. Okay, well it might seem pointless on a vehicle like this, but I'm going to go ahead and apply some ceramic spray coating to the areas where the paint is in decent shape to at least give it a little bit more shine and make it look as good as possible when the owner picks it up. Second last step here is to use some of my correcting compound and a microfiber cutting pad to polish up these really filthy chrome bumpers, and after making a couple of passes over them, the chrome is looking nearly brand new again.
All right guys, well 12 hours is what it took to get this old Ford Bronco cleaned up and ready for the owner to start the restoration process. Although there's no question he's got a ton of work ahead of him, but it will be a pretty sweet ride once he gets it back on the road. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this one, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.